Hello, YouTube. This is Zach, and today I have a very special guest with me. Today I have one of my best friends, John Scherer, here with me on the channel, and we are going to be talking about K-pop Demon Hunters Golden on Jimmy Fallon. And I know this is way outside of anything I've ever talked about before, but that's why I brought John here. So I'll let John kind of introduce himself, but first, he's kind of a pretty prolific composer and producer, and I'll let him explain some of those things himself. But yeah, John, thanks for being here, and I think this is going to be fun. I hope you enjoy it.
Yeah, for sure. Happy to be here. I think prolific might be a stretch, but successful enough to be able to do it for a living, which I think is pretty cool.
What are some projects that you've done?
So I've done all sorts of stuff across a lot of different genres. For the longest time, I was doing a lot of hip hop and R&B when I was living in Atlanta, and now I'm out in LA working mostly on video games. Lately, for the last couple of years, I've been doing a lot of work for Riot Games, so that's been my main thing. But still doing a lot of pop, R&B, hip hop, all over the place.
Who would you say like the most notable artists that you've worked with, and like what games in particular have you worked on?
So the game I've been working on for the most part has been 2XKO, the Riot fighting game. As far as artists, I've done lots and lots of little stuff and lots of big stuff. It's just kind of all over the place.
Yeah, he's got some pretty big hits that he's written, and maybe you can do some digging on your own and see some of the things that he's written. Now, the reason I brought John on here specifically for this Jimmy Fallon piece is because he has experience of actually being hosted on a late night show like you're on, Stephen Colbert, right?
Yep, Stephen Colbert.
Yeah, Stephen Colbert. So he kind of knows the drill with this kind of thing. And so, as you all know, I'm like a singing analyst, and I tend to stay away from stuff that's like really processed or stuff that has a lot of like digital editing on it in the recordings and all, because I don't really know anything about the topic, and I'm an opera singer, and that's my training, and so I'm very much a purist in the way that I teach and the way that I approach singing. And so John is very familiar with this world of production and composition and how things are done. And so we've been talking about doing this for a while, actually. I brought him on for this video because I think he's going to be able to provide a very unique mindset and perspective on this compared to how I normally talk about my content. So if you're new here, this will be like, whatever. But for my core audience, the people who are around for a while and who have been watching my stuff forever, this is definitely gonna be a little bit different. You should all go subscribe to John's channel, John Scherer Music. I'll put a link in the description. He is starting up on YouTube now. He's on other social media platforms, but he has a ton of insight and knowledge to offer. And if you like the way that I approach talking about singing, you're gonna like John too, because he thinks about production and composition, music theory, guitar. He thinks about those things in a very similar way to how I think about the educational aspects of singing. So I really think that you all will enjoy what he has to offer once that content starts coming along. So let's help him get his channel rolling. So go check him out on YouTube, and he will have content coming in the near future, I'm sure. So let's not tarry anymore. Let's get right into this. I have no idea. Everybody's told me about this song. I've never even heard the song before, and so I don't know what this is going to be. First time I've ever heard this or seen this. So yeah, let's go for it. And John, feel free to let me know if there's something you want to chime in about or some kind of comment you want to make about this. The floor is yours as far as I'm concerned. So
sure thing.
Here we go. Yeah, let's go.
Performing their #1 hit song, Golden. Once again, EJ, Audrey Nuna, and Ray Ami from K-pop Demon Hunters.
I was a ghost, I was alone. Towards you, it's okay. Given the throne.
Okay, I already have a question for you, John, right off the bat. So,
All right, that's good.
Are you all right? So this part right here, the backing vocals, okay? Did that sound pre-recorded to you? I'm gonna play it again. Listen to the backing vocals. Tell me if it sounded pre-recorded or if it sounded like people singing in the studio. Right here.
It's okay.
That.
So we're getting right into it. And I will have to preface this with, technically speaking, we don't know. So we're not there. All I can do is speak from my experience and what I've seen in the industry, and what I can tell you is normal and commonplace in the industry. And I know this can sometimes ruffle some people's feathers for some reason. People that don't make music or don't perform music or aren't in these either live or recorded music environments, sometimes they believe certain things, and then they get a little upset when someone tells them otherwise. And I think a lot of that has to do with the fact that people think, well, if my favorite singer is lip syncing, or if my favorite singer is auto-tuned, or if my favorite singer isn't even really singing and it's someone entirely, like whatever the case may be, then they're not good, or I'm mistaken for liking them. And I think that's like a really bad way to look at it. I am not entirely sure where all of the stigmas come from when it comes to vocal editing and vocal
People
production.
like me.
Yeah,
People
I
like
guess
me.
it is people like you. That makes sense. I mean, and obviously, Zach, you know, like we've been talking about this for years. I am much more okay with this, right? Like I'm auto-tuning people's vocals every day, and I love the sound of an auto-tuned vocal. And I perform all the time with pre-recorded vocals. And so in a scenario like this, particularly when you're on live TV, most of the time, I gotta be careful with what I say. Most of these things are pre-recorded. Now, that doesn't mean that all of the vocals are pre-recorded, but most big productions, whether it's pop, R&B, hip hop, even country, all of these genres that are like really big and popular, most of the voices are auto-tuned, even live, or most of the background vocals are pre-recorded. Obviously, in stuff like this, if you see two vocalists and you hear three voices, like spoiler alert, there's pre-recorded vocals in there. But again, I want to go ahead and get out of the way that that's not a bad thing. And so if that kind of thing, if you're just like, well, no, I love K-pop Demon Hunters and I love these girls, and they would never use pre-recorded vocals, and they would never use auto-tune on their voice, and they would never let someone edit their voices, that's just not true. But that's okay, right? You don't have to be upset about that. That doesn't mean that they're bad. These girls are awesome. The song is awesome. The movie is awesome. I find it wild that you've never seen the movie or heard the songs, but
No, well, I've been tempted to before, but then I haven't, because I've been planning to. I've heard that this song was really popular, and I've been planning to talk about this on my channel, and so I just haven't. Like, there's a lot of music like that nowadays where people are like, "Oh, you should check this out," and then I'm like, "Well, maybe I should just wait to watch it on my channel," you know? So
Yeah.
this is one of those things. So that's why I haven't heard it yet. And I know there's probably audience out there saying, "Well, you're not watching it, you're talking about it," you know?
Sure.
But no, that's this. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, to answer your specific question on this, yeah, it absolutely sounds either pre-recorded. It's very perfect. It's very like there are a lot of things that my ear's gonna pick up on that like other people's won't. Even though you listen to the human voice all the time, you don't necessarily constantly listen to the human voice manipulated by digital instruments, whatever you want to call the effects that we use, whether it's tuning, auto-tune, and at some point I'm sure we'll dive into like the difference between auto-tuning and pitch correction and whatever.
Yeah, sure.
But yeah, like when I hear these things, because I'm working with those tools all of the time, it's really obvious when you hear that. But again, yeah, it's okay. Yeah, the background vocals sound either pre-recorded or very heavily edited, and sometimes that happens. Sometimes you record a live performance and there is no pre-recorded vocals. Maybe all the vocals are there, but then you go back in and, you know, all of this stuff is recorded. Whenever it's recorded, whether it's at the time or ahead of time, everything's stemmed out, and there's a mixing engineer that's mixing all of this stuff. Performances are mixed differently for live and for recordings. So if any time that you see a live recording, right, like a live band playing, like even if it's a band playing a show at at Madison Square Garden, right, and you're looking at, you know, whatever, The Who live at Madison Square Garden, I mean, that's a bad example because older stuff, but even then, what you're hearing is different than what the audience heard, because you've got live sound engineers that are working with the sound coming out of the speakers that have to push air to the people in the back row, and then you have the stuff that's going direct in. A lot of instruments like have separate lines that are going from the instrument directly into the computer, which is what you're going to hear when you look at it on YouTube. But then they have a separate line that's going to the big fat speaker that's blowing that air. That's like the bass you feel in your chest. There's a reason like live music sounds so different than recorded music. So I know that's already pretty long-winded right off the bat, but
No, I'm telling you, my core audience is gonna love this, man.
All right,
That's
cool.
why I'm telling you guys, you need to subscribe to him, because that's why I want him to come here, because he has the same level of knowledge and insight on these topics that I have on singing, and he's very good at articulating it. So I think like this is exactly why John's here. I want to go back and listen to the actual singing for a second.
I do real quick before you do this. I do want to point
yeah.
out that the stuff that I'm saying that I'm very confident in when it comes to the production techniques and the norms is true at the very least for pop, R&B, hip hop, and country. I am not from the prog and metal world, so I know those fans tend to be even more particular about their beliefs and what their favorite artist does and doesn't do. Not my farm, not my pig. So like, if you want to tell me that like what, X prog artist has never used autotune in your review, like that, I believe that, because that type of music is more prone to people who are too proud to use certain effects, and that's fine. Like that's cool. Pop, R&B, hip hop, country, nobody's doing that. They're your favorite artist, if they are in any of those genres, they are using pitch correction, they are using heavily edited vocals, they are using pre-recorded backing tracks when they play live, even if it's just little stuff. Like you go to the show and you're like, well, there's guitar, bass, drums, keyboard, they have a whole orchestra in the back. Like it's not pre-recorded. Look, there's 20 people on stage. I guarantee there's like percussion, there's like little things. I make those. Like that's like I run playback at these massive festivals and thousands and thousands of people every single act, from the very top act to like the middle. I mean, sure, like the kids from Brooklyn on their first tour, playing a punk show, they're probably not using backing tracks. But again, it's genre specific, right? So like, your smaller like punk and indie and stuff, they probably don't use as many backing tracks and pre-recorded vocals and autotune and all that. But even that's becoming more commonplace because of how accessible all the stuff is. But again, I can confidently tell you, if your favorite artist that you're talking about is pop, R&B, hip hop, country, they are doing all of these things, and it just is what it is. And it's okay. It's cool. I do it all the time. I love it. I love the sound of it. Anyway, all right, that's my spiel. Get out of the way. I'm sure everyone's gonna hate me for it, but we'll cross that bridge when we get to it.
Okay. I'm fortunate that my audience is they're pretty discerning. I've trained them well.
All right, sure.
All right, so I want to listen to. I want to actually pay attention to the singing and just see what's going on here a little bit. I mean, I didn't hear anything egregious, but I still want to listen to it again.
It's okay. Given the throne, I didn't know how to believe I was the queen that I'm meant to be.
See, yeah, when I hear this, like, I guess I'm being exposed here, but like, when I hear this, I can hear that there's something in the singing that doesn't sound natural.
Sure.
But because I don't understand what's going on, I don't really know. I mean, I want to listen to the song some more, but thinking about a way to explain this, I guess, because all I can hear as a trained singing teacher ear is something doesn't sound completely human about this, but I don't really know what it is. So,
sure. Yeah. At any point we can talk about, what auto-tune is, what pitch correction is, and like how to listen for it, and whether or not we're listening to it right now. Whether you want to do that now based off what we just heard, or you want to play more of the song and talk about it later.
I want to play some more of the song. Yeah, I'll play some more of the song just to, because people want to hear the song too, but I would say play the whole thing through. But by the way, for all you viewers out there that are watching this for the first time, if your compulsion to comment is let the song play the whole thing through first and talk about it, you actually can't really do that. If you do, it creates a host of problems with your channel, and it's very hard to beat fair use. Like, this is a new revelation. I haven't talked about this ever on my channel, but I'm going to throw it in here because this is kind of a more informal type thing than I normally do anyway. When I get so many copyright, not strikes, but content ID claims and like demonetize my videos, it happens like almost every single one of them. So I have to file appeals for that. And to file the appeal, I have to do this form that shows like, okay, show that the nature of your work is educational. Show that you use this and fundamentally transform the original work. Show that blah, 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 blah. And so the thing is, if they look at the appeal and they see that I just watched the whole thing through, at a first glance, when a human's eye looks at it, they're going to say, oh, well, that's not transforming the work. You're just sitting there watching it. So
you're the guy on TikTok with his head in the corner as like the stolen content plays.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's not transformative content. So what would happen if I file an appeal because my videos are getting blocked in certain territories or demonetized or whatever, and I fail that appeal, then I get a copyright strike. And if you get 3 strikes, they remove your channel. So if you're ever wondering why content creators don't watch their stuff all the way through, this is one of the reasons. And the ones who can watch things already through, we're talking about behind the scenes stuff. Well, here's some YouTube behind the scenes. The people who can watch the videos all the way through without pausing it are in part of what's called MCNs, or multi-channel networks. Basically, like, they have representatives who can go to the record labels and say, okay, like, you know, give us permission to go all the way through the video and that kind of thing. And the content ID claims will get manually removed by the record holders. But, you know, I'm a relatively small channel. I don't have that kind of pull. So I have to break these videos up when I talk about them in order to, you know, keep my channel functional. As sad as that sounds, that's really how it works. So, but yeah, so as far as her singing, she's clearly an alto voice. I mean, I would not give any other assessment to the sound that I heard other than like an according to Hoyle, tried and true alto. I mean, it sounds like a, you know, very normal alto voice. We'll listen to some more. We'll keep going. See that? Okay, so this second voice here, this girl here, I guess it's technically the third voice, but the second one since I started back, this sounds more real to me than the girl before it. First off, John, do you agree with that assessment? And second off, if you do agree with that assessment, what characteristics of what she's doing would make her sound more real than the other? Would make it sound more like authentic or not touched up or whatever the word is?
So there's a lot of things that could be going on here. Firstly, I'm not going to say that I think one sounds more real than the other. I even think just like the idea, even like the dichotomy of real versus not real when it comes to the sound of the human voice, like that's not how I hear it. I'm definitely not so, I guess, dogmatic about that, where it's like there's the voice and then there's like anything to it. Now it's like no longer the voice. I know that you feel a little more strongly about that than I do, or at least you have in the past. That's been the topic of plenty of our discussions. Yeah. But in terms of me being able to explain what it is that you're hearing, a couple things could be happening. So auto-tune is when like you're singing into a plugin, into a computer program, essentially, that is going to take what you're playing, it's going to add a synth along with it, and it's going to, in real time, correct your pitch to the closest pitch in a set of pitches that is decided by whoever is running the program, usually in a major scale. So if you're in the key of C, then no sharps or flats. Like if you sing a sharp or a flat, the auto-tune program is going to move your voice down or up to the closest thing. And there's a lot of settings inside of auto-tune, or any auto-tune program, that will affect the way that sounds. One of the most important and impactful decisions to be made when you have auto-tune running is the speed at which it corrects your voice. And so if it's slow, if you sing in between two pitches and you're 25 cents sharp on a pitch, it will like slowly ramp down your voice, and the slower that correction is, usually the more natural it sounds. If you turn that speed all the way up to where within like 1 millisecond or whatever your delay is or your latency is, it will just automatically just jump that to the pitch. That's going to be your like classic T-Pain kind of like more like robotic sound. Because you'll hear that the pitches just jump directly to one another. Even ultra trained opera singers, when they're singing, and you know, correct me if I'm wrong, when you guys are singing pitches, even if they're melismatic, I use that word right, even if they're, you know, singing nice up and down a scale, or I guess especially if they're singing up and down a scale, the pitches aren't perfectly jumping, right? There is some sort of take up, there's some sort of startup in between notes, some sort of like scoop, or just even if it's very, very slight, there's something, because the sound of a pitch going directly from one pitch to another with nothing in between sounds robotic. It sounds not real, right? It sounds manufactured, whatever you want to call it. So usually for most people, even if they're not musically trained or production experts or whatever, when they hear something and they're like, that sounds like it was auto-tuned, that's what they're hearing, is they're hearing the transition from one note to another that's too fast. Or what a lot of times will happen, and this happened earlier in the song, which is why I kind of smiled, and you immediately paused it and you were like, this doesn't sound real. It's because if you do end up in that scenario where you are like directly in between two pitches, you're, sharp of C, but not sharp enough to be a C sharp, or, I mean, technically, you could be like the note in between. You could be singing a C sharp when it's in the key of C, and you're in between C and D. But whatever it is, if you're in between two pitches that are in the key, so much so that like your natural vibrato is kind of moving up and down, and it could be rounded up or rounded down, then the auto tune, especially if it's fast, will do a little flutter where it will flip between two pitches, and you'll get like a little like robotic sounding like synth trill. Literally sounds like you took like two notes on the piano a half step apart, just did it like real quick. And sometimes you'll hear those tiny little things that usually happens from a singer singing with vibrato. If they've got like a wide vibrato, they're moving up enough to go up to the half step above. They're moving down enough for the computer to move it down to the half step below, and you'll get this really quick, weird little like robotic sounding flutter. Those are like the two things that will like kind of be a dead giveaway of like, oh, cool, they're singing into auto tune. So
would you say that one of these, like, if I go back here, right? Let's see. So listen to this girl sing, and then the other girl. Would you say that one of these two voices is more tuned than the other? I guess is what I'm trying to. Let's play it again.
Yeah, go ahead and play it out. Play it out.
Lives try to play both sides, but I couldn't find my own place. Got a cracked little child, 'cause I got too wild, but now that's how I'm getting paid.
So of those two, to me, to my unknowing ears, it sounds like there is something more being done to the voice of the first girl than the second. Would you agree with that, or am I just
not necessarily? I don't think you're way off. There's a couple things going on. One, the first girl is singing. It's the frequency spectrum of her voice is a lot higher, and that can already be more noticeable. Just like higher pitched things tend to be a little bit more noticeable than lower pitched things. To me, they both sound pretty much equally tuned. I don't think either one of them is like more like egregiously tuned or fake. I will say one thing that maybe sounds a little bit more, again, I hate not real, right? I hate that, but the first voice sounds maybe a little bit more processed.
Maybe that's what I'm hearing. It almost sounds like there's like a second voice.
That's actually what I was about to bring up. The
Okay.
first girl in this situation sounds like she has a double that is a lot more prominent in the mix than the second girl's double. I hear that right there. Like I kind of landed right on it. On the word find. Run it back a little bit. Give me some context here.
So listen to the word find.
Sure.
Lives try to play both sides, but I couldn't find my own place.
It's funny.
You hear that?
I hear it more in a couple of the words before, but yeah, there's some sort of doubling effect going on. That could be literally a double. So you do this in production all the time, especially like big pop productions. You have the lead voice, and then you have a second recording. Sometimes it's an actual recording of the vocalist doing it again. Sometimes it's copy pasted. There are plugins now that do it. You just have like doubling plugins, and what they'll do is they'll double the voice. They might shift it slightly in terms of time. So if you notice, like a little earlier, she makes, I don't remember what the word was, but it sounded like a la, like an L consonant. And you can even hear like a da-da, like a real quick like double, and it sounds like whatever the double that she is singing along with is just ever so slightly, like a couple milliseconds late. And what that does is that just adds texture. It adds like, it makes the voice sound bigger. If you ever listen to stems of like a big pop song and you take out the double of the lead vocal, it just immediately sounds so much thinner and less energetic. A good double is one of the biggest industry tricks for making a voice sound really big and in your face, and it cuts through the mix. But if the double was exactly the same, you wouldn't get that effect. And so you want these tiny little changes, again, like having the double be slightly late, having it being slightly out of tune. That's a big trick.
I've actually heard that before. I've heard that before from someone.
Absolutely.
Like somebody told me that, like, if you want to take, and you can tell me if this is true or not, maybe not, but what I was told specifically is if you want to make a solo voice sound like like make it sound bigger, you can actually turn the volume way down on a secondary track of the same voice, pitch it up an octave, and detune it by like a couple of cents. And it'll make it have like almost like a hall type effect. You can kind of give it like a
So what it gives you more than anything would be like it probably closer to like a chorus effect.
chorus. Okay, yeah, maybe.
Well,
Yeah.
it depends, right? It depends on what's going on. So there's all sorts of things you can do, but essentially what you're talking about is doubling a voice. You're adding textures. If you take a choir of singers and they all had the exact same voice, it's funny because like choir singers strive for this. So like let's blend perfectly, right? Let's blend exactly perfectly. If you were able to actually blend perfectly and everyone was singing unison, it actually wouldn't add much volume. Because at least in a recorded setting, and if you're in a cathedral, sure, you keep adding more voices, you get more sound,
and overtones are more prominent too. You can
Sure.
hear overtones that more prominent.
But even in a live space, you'll get diminished returns. But in a recording space, we have a very like set amount of sound that we can make, and you're usually hitting that limit all the time because you're compressing it. It's being compressed by whatever you're listening to it on, and it's kind of flattening out the dynamic range of whatever the sound is.
So for the audience, what does compressing it mean?
So compression in terms of production is in its most simplest form, you are turning down the sound, but you're only doing it when it gets loud enough. And so if you imagine like your dynamic range, right? So like the song starts really soft and then it gets really loud, or more relevant to what you're talking about, a human voice is getting loud and it's getting soft, it's getting loud. Anytime that it gets loud enough, the compressor turns it down. And then whenever it gets under that threshold, then it stays the same. And so what it does is it only turns it down when it gets past a certain point, and then you turn everything back up, and so it squashes that dynamic range. So if your quietest sound is -5 dBs or whatever, or I know that sounds crazy in terms of like actual audio levels, but in production terms that makes sense. But say let's just use like whole numbers. If your lowest sound is 5 dB and your highest sound is 10 dB, and you say every time it gets over 8 dB, we'll turn it down. Well, now you've decreased your dynamic range from 5 dB, 5 to 10, to 5 to 8. And so now you've got like a 3 decibel range of dynamics.
I see. So you're controlling the dynamics.
Exactly. We're squashing it. We're getting it a little. And what that does in practice, when I explain it to you, it sounds like, oh, we're just turning down all the highs. But in practice, it actually makes it sound like we're bringing up the quieter things, because what we do is we lower the highs and then we bring everything up. And so what that does is it brings up all of these lower sounds that you wouldn't normally hear because they're kind of ducking out of the audible range. They're getting buried by other instruments or whatever, and we're bringing that up. That's why when you listen to a recording like this, or any recording where a singer is like whispering, right? Like think about like a recording where a singer goes from singing or rapping to whispering and it's just as loud. Well, we can do that in a recorded setting, right? If you were to do that in person, whispering is obviously quieter than singing, very much so. But we're able to control the dynamics when we have microphones and we have recording techniques. But yeah, there's compression gets used on everything. There's compression on individual instruments. There's compression on groups of instruments. There's compression on the total mix, like in a mastering setting. And it's all, the purpose of that is just to bring up the lower sounds. It takes the stuff that you wouldn't normally hear and bring it up, and it makes things sound fuller and all that.
So let me see if this, and maybe this is a completely wrong comparison, but a common thing that we will do as singers, especially in like classical music when we aren't amplified, if we will use the dynamic markings in a piece of music judiciously based upon the song texture or the texture of the piece. So like, for example, if I'm singing something that's Wagner, well, a lot of Wagner is huge, or Verdi's huge sounding stuff, right? Well, piano, when you're singing of an orchestra playing, 100 and however many instruments, piano is not piano. Your piano is going to be raised up but proportionally your, fortissimo is going to be even bigger than that, right? So
Sure.
Is that similar kind of saying like, all right, well, we're going to raise the floor of the dynamics. In this particular example, we're going to raise the floor of the dynamics so that
Yeah, it's a little different when you have you're talking about different people playing different instruments, or in your case, like making sound with their voices, because you can just say, if we want whatever the quietest thing, we want the tenor part to be louder, well, just sing louder, tenors, or sing quieter, everybody else. It's a little different than using a program to say, well, any time that the sopranos get too loud, we're going to turn down the whole track. Right? Like that, like, because a compressor isn't just turning down to sopranos or just turning up the tenors. It's turning down or it's turning down everything, and then you're raising everything back up. You can get a little bit more in the weeds with like multi-band compressors that actually only act on certain frequency bands. But that at this point, we're no longer talking about K-pop Demon Hunters.
outside the scope. Yeah.
We're getting
No. This is great, man. I'm learning too. I'm sure everybody's learning from this. So let's keep going, because
to answer your question though, getting back to this, you were trying to figure out like which one, if the second voice here, the third voice technically, but if that sounded less processed. It doesn't sound less processed to me. I think that the double is a little bit more prominent with the first voice. Partly, I mean, it could be all sorts of things. I'd have to see the stems and exactly what they have recorded, but for sure, 100%. There is a double here, or at the very least a doubling effect. It could technically be like a really fast slap back, like delay, where it's actually just delaying her voice. I doubt that. It sounds like a double to me. But both are tuned. Both have what seems like to be doubles. The second one, I don't really hear the double nearly as much, but I actually maybe even hear the tune a little bit more in the second one. But it's all slight. It's all very subtle. I think a lot of people, when they're like, is there autotune or not? Is it T-Pain or is it not? This is obviously not T-Pain level autotune. This is like really subtle, and it's just there to make things cut through. I think a lot of people, again, will hear this and hear me saying, oh, there's very clearly autotune, and they'll be like, no, never my K-pop Demon Hunter girls. Like, they would never use autotune because they're really good. Well, even the best singers are using autotune. They're not using autotune because they're bad. They're not using autotune because they can't sing in tune. It's a sound. And this is a debate that me and you get into all the time, and I know that like you don't always know where I'm coming from with this, but the sound of autotune is a sound. It creates its own unique timbre. It just like a saxophone and a clarinet sound different because they have timbral differences. A non-tuned voice and a tuned voice sound different timbre-wise because a tuned voice inherently has to add a synth in order to tune that voice. And so it has its own sound, and it cuts through a mix really, really well. So a tuned voice is usually going to shine through a mix and sound awesome, and it's there to make the voice that's already there sound better. If you can't sing, putting yourself through autotune is not going to sound good, or at the very least, it's not going to sound normal. If you sound bad, like if you are a pitchy singer, right? Like you can't sing on pitch and you're singing through autotune, it will be very, very obvious using autotune. It will still sound bad. In order, like they are very clearly talented. They sound really good. Just like anyone else that uses autotune at this level, they sound good. They're good singers. They're singing the right pitches. They're singing with the good energy. They're doing a good job of singing the song. Just because that tune is on there doesn't take any of that away, but it is there, whether you like it or not.
There we go. Real quick, I hope you're enjoying this video, and if you are, please give it a like and subscribe. That will help me so much. Also, I do offer voice instruction. I'm a professional singing teacher, and I offer voice instruction through my Discord server, so I highly encourage you to join. That's where my entire community is. That's where all my students are. We do weekly vocal workshops. I do free vocal assessments for all incoming students, and it's just a really good place to be. I also do offer a Patreon if you want to kind of get a little bit more of a bird's eye view on the things I do, get early access to the videos and things like that. But yeah, please join my Discord server. I'd love to see you there. Hope you enjoy the video. Wow, we're only 1 minute in. I just want to point out, why didn't the captions give the translation of the Korean?
Just singing in Korean. Yeah,
why did it say singing in Korean? What's up with that? Like, I don't know.
I wonder if these are the like official Late Show or whatever captions, or if this is like YouTube stuff.
I don't know. Why would they do that?
Listen to Shining.
Oh,
you hear how that there's the.
Hold on. Yeah, what about it?
Do you hear? Does it sound like tuned or particularly to you, or does that just sound
No,
normal?
no. What I hear, what I'm hearing is that the voice sounds like she's shifting into her M2 register a little bit, and I hear it like kind of moving into the head voice kind of sound. Like
Okay, sure.
I'm not. I'm not really listening for the.
That's funny.
I don't hear the same things that you do, but
Yeah.
what I hear from the voice teacher perspective is that she's in her chest voice, kind of shifting up into her head voice a little bit there.
Sure.
But,
Yeah,
yeah,
that is definitely also happening. But like, I mean, it's there's definitely a fair amount of tune on it. It sounds good though. I mean, it sounds killer.
Is this live? Do you think this is live? Or do you think this is pre-recorded?
That is really, really hard to answer. Like, what you're asking me is like, well, okay, there's a couple things you keep asking me. Are you asking me, are they actually on stage right now doing this, or did they record this like earlier in the day and they just shifted to this?
Well, I mean, we know that a lot of times these types of shows, these TV shows, what you see on the video itself isn't necessarily live in studio. Like, for example, the David Draymond Sound of Silence thing, that wasn't done there in studio. That was pre-recorded, and that's been effectively, admitted to. So, I mean, do you think that based on what you see and what you hear, do you have any indicators as to whether or not this might be actually like being done live or pre-recorded? At the show, I mean.
Here's the problem: is like those aren't mutually exclusive. Like done live or pre-recorded. Like if you're asking, is this the live feed from the show? Like when people were watching this show, I highly doubt it. Because that's just not what people do. That most of it is pre-recorded. Any of these shows, typically, you probably do it earlier in the day, or you do it like the day before. But you go in there, you do it. It's probably on set. But I mean, most live shows aren't live, right? I mean, these shows, of course, they're pre-recorded. But yeah, because like ideally in a situation like this, you get like a chance to do it once or twice. I mean, because if you, I don't know, there's like staging and stuff. I mean, there's blocking, right? They have choreo. Like if they, I don't know, tripped and fell, like, are they going to show that on live TV? No, I mean, there's a reason that, like...
Hey, I mean, there's a lot of stuff like that on David Letterman back in the day.
Sure. Well, and sometimes it depends on the show. Again, this is one of those things where I can't definitively tell you whether it is or not. All I can do is speak from my experience and what is, like, pretty normal in the industry. This could absolutely be live, but probably not, because most of the time it's not. At some point, they were doing these things live. At some point, they stopped doing these live. Half the time they don't even do these like in the same studio or in the same state. Like I've done stuff like this TVs where we recorded something in Georgia and the show is filmed in New York, and they act like, oh, we'll go to the next room and look at the band playing, and it's like we're not even in the same time zone. Well, I guess New York and Georgia are, but you know what I mean. Yeah, so it's impossible to actually definitively answer you. I'm sure this was actually recorded. I'm sure what we're hearing is their voices. I think that's very likely. I don't think this is like a straight up lip sync type thing. I don't think that they like went in the studio lip sync and they're just like pretending and their microphones are off. That could also be true. That happens. That's pretty, that's not uncommon. I don't think that's what's happening. It looks to be very real. I'm convinced. If they're lip syncing, they're doing an incredible job, and I'm convinced otherwise. But like, is this an actual straight up live, straight to TV filming? Probably not, but who cares? I don't know. That doesn't matter to me.
Okay. Well, that answers my question. That's fair enough.
Like I'm gonna be, we dreaming how we came so far now. I believe we're going up, up, up. It's our moment. You together we're growing, gonna be golden. Up, 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 and our voices. You wanna get us a woman, gonna be golden. Up the light, now I'm shining like I'm gonna be. Our time now feels no lies. That's who we're born to be.
Yeah, I think she's really singing too. I mean, like you said, if this is lip synced, it's done very well, because I look at things like, like. So when I see like some of this engagement in the neck, like that's clearly an indicator
singing.
that she's singing. Yeah,
whether we're listening to what she's singing or not, she is certainly singing that.
Yeah, and I like, this is not typically how I approach. You watch my videos, like I don't typically just like listen like this. I'm usually talking, but I'm trying to listen to this from such a like now that I know you're here, I'm trying to listen to this more from a not a voice teacher perspective, but like what is the overall product of what's being created. I'm trying to look at it like that.
Sure.
I mean, as just a first time listener of the song, if I take away all of my like preconceived notions about the kind of music I like, what I'm into, I really like the chorus. I think it's a really good melody. I think it's catchy. It seems like the song is well written. I mean, that's part of what you do too, right?
I think this song is fantastic.
Well, yeah, fanboy it up then. Tell me about
I
it.
think this is great. I wish that I wrote this song. Good Lord. Not just like money wise. Like, I mean, this is, well, that's the main thing. But I mean, this song is, I mean, and so much of the music from the movie is just gas. I mean, it's great. I think they sound great.
What makes this so good to you? Like, what about this?
I mean,
what makes it so good?
It makes me feel good when I hear it, right? It's music. I think that I could, you've heard me get like super into the weeds about production techniques when it comes to like what do I think makes music sound good. Does it make me feel good when I hear it? Does it scratch that itch in my brain? Is it pleasant? Is it like, does it make me feel sad when I need to feel sad? Does it make me feel happy when I need to feel happy? All that stuff. And I mean, this is just, it just feels good. It feels right. Like vibes, whatever you want to call it. I mean, it's just good music. It just sounds good. I mean, I could say like it sounds good because this melody hits, I don't know, the third of the 5 chord, and you could try to analyze it compositionally. And I think if you do that, you're going to miss out on a lot of the stuff that's here. That's a whole nother rabbit hole that we could go down, because I think a lot of people that come from a classical background or even other genres will tend to judge a song based off what it is doing in terms of harmonic content and the melodic content and the how those two things work together and how the melody interacts with the harmony in terms of like chord tones and approach notes and getting into all of that. But when you do that, when you boil a song down to what it looks like on a sheet of music, like on a sheet of music notation, right? When you just look at the notes, there's so much else going on. Like if you were to take all of this, right, and just play it on a piano, the melody, the harmony, everything, and you were just boiling it down to just straight on a piano, like it's still going to sound good. And that's honestly one of the litmus tests for me when it comes to like, is it a good song? Like, I don't know, play it just on a piano. Does it still sound good? Then it's probably a really good song. But it's also completely different, right? Like these like synths that are going on in the background, the drum beats, the vocals and how the vocals are saying. Like if you had a Billy Corgan sing this, right, it's going to be a very different vibe. And even if it sounds just as good in terms of pitch. And so there's just so much going on here in terms of all of the individual textures and how they all interact with each other, the mix, the production, the little tricks. I mean, the stuff that stands out in my ear, because I listen to this all the time, is just little stuff, little risers, little into stuff, and, stuff that makes like certain things pop, and I don't know how loud the snare is and how crunchy the kick drum is in certain. I mean, there's all sorts of little things that I hear. I mean, this is very, very high level production. Like whoever made this is a wizard. It sounds really, really good. Whoever wrote the melodies, I mean, it's catchy. Like this. I watched this movie, and
it was catchy to me too. Like that's what I like. The melody grabs me for sure. Like it's incredible. A good chorus.
It's really good. But yeah, I mean, I can't. It's hard to quantify like why art is good. If I ask you why you like a painting, I mean, sure, you can say all the stuff of how it speaks to you, and you could talk about brushstrokes, and you could talk about the time period and what it meant, and what the historical, political context of the subject matter, like whatever. But at the end of the day, if you like the way it looks, you like the way it looks. And I like the way this sounds.
Okay. Well, there you go. Yeah, this is the least I've ever talked to one of my own videos before.
Yeah, sorry, I am kind of.
No, it's good. It's good. No, this is good because I don't know anything about this genre. Sure. I don't know anything about this style. I don't know anything about production. So I'll take a back seat on this. It's fine. It's totally fine with me.
I will say
it's good to see what you do.
I would hate for this video the main takeaway to be like whether or not pop singers are using autotune or whatever, because like that to me like that is such an unimportant topic. Like it's like they are okay, cool, we're over it now. Let's talk about the
that's why I'm not talking about it anymore. So,
yeah,
I mean,
exactly. But yeah, I mean, as compositionally, production wise, I love it, man. It's all good. I have like basically no complaints.
Cool.
So long to break these walls. and feel like me.
She's got a. I mean, this is going to sound like the most obvious statement of the century, given the scope of these artists. But she has such a commercial, marketable sounding voice. Like it's like got that quintessential. If I hear a girl sing this, like if a girl comes to me to want take voice lessons and she's got this sound, like I'm immediately go like this is a marketable singing sound. You know,
Sure.
like we both. I've had a student. You've had a student. We've had the same student back
Sure.
in our music school days. You know who I'm talking about. That
Absolutely.
like I got the same impression. Like this is a very marketable voice, and I've got some students that I think have very marketable timbres for different genres. But that's one of the assessments that I typically make when students come to me in the first place. Is I say like where could this voice go? Like you know, where is this voice going to end up being? I never push my students in a specific direction. I never say you've got to do this, you've got to do that. But I do kind of like nudge their repertoire kind of in a direction of like this is probably gonna be where your voice kind of like it's gonna find itself somehow in this.
Sure.
And you know, it could be the chicken or the egg thing. So people come to me already knowing how they want to sound, and you know, and sometimes they find it on their own. But I think that, you know, we had this discussion, this is a whole different topic a couple of weeks ago about like how do you find what stuff fits where, you know? And I think that these idioms, these concepts have kind of traveled, you know, throughout the medium to like certain sounds fitting in certain styles. Like if she were up there going, no, 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 that just wouldn't work. Like that's not,
Sure.
like it just doesn't work in the context of what the music sounds like. It doesn't work. So because every genre and every style has its own kind of like, I don't want to say memes, but they have their own like meta game, if you will, like of what the genre you know encompasses. When I hear this voice, like it immediately jumps out. It's like you could put her in any pop setting and it would work. Like it's just it's just super super marketable sounding.
Yeah, it's almost like there's different vocabulary where like, you know, different just the way that you pronounce certain vowels or and not like in an accent sort of way, but like in a, you know, like a embouchure sort of way, right? Where it's indicative of certain genres, and it's hard to do all of them, which is why you don't see a lot of people that are very
Truly
proficient
versatile that can do all. Yeah,
exactly. Like, well, you
Yeah,
just
I know
don't
what
see
you mean.
people singing opera and singing pop and sounding good at both. Like I've heard a lot of incredible opera singers sing pop, and it's not.
It doesn't
you
work.
would want.
Yeah, I know.
It just
Well,
doesn't.
listen to Pavarotti try to sing pop. It's terrible. You know,
Sure.
but yeah, I think he's one of the greatest voices ever. All right, so let's continue.
Put these patterns all in the past now and finally live like the girl they all see. No more hiding, I'll be shining like I'm born to be.
She's got good tonal consistency too. What I mean by that, for those of you who are not familiar with vocal terms and things like that I talk about on my channel, vocal consistency is kind of self-explanatory. Doesn't sound like the same voice from the bottom of the range to the top of the range, and it really stands out here because when she's singing the lower stuff, because I can kind of hear the sort of the meat of the sound in this kind of range, and I can compare the timbre of the sound that she creates when she's singing the high stuff in the chorus. And yes, she's working harder, and yes, it's higher, and yes, it has more of like a slightly pushed tone up the voice, but the core timbre of the singing sound is very fundamentally similar to how she sounds when she's down in the low end of her voice, which is an indicator of really solid tonal consistency in her sound. So that's something that a lot of singers struggle with, especially when you move up into the passaggio, which is where the head voice, you know, you move from chest voice to head voice. A lot of people start having issues with tonal consistency, and that's a big part of the work that you have to do as a voice student, is making that transition up into the higher range smooth so that there is tonal consistency from the bottom to the top. So that's just an observation I made here from hearing her sing kind of in her lower range a little bit.
'Cause we are hunters,
So you hear it.
and I know I believe we're going.
Yeah, for sure. I like it. I like it. It's catchy. I like it.
It sounds great. I'll tell you what I don't
I
like
like
is the sound of the audience clapping on the quarter notes. I just like see all of the
Oh,
people
yeah.
in my head. Just
Yeah. Oh
Like-
yeah, dude. When I lived in Germany, every concert that I went to that wasn't like a heavy metal show, it didn't matter if it was like somebody busking or whatever. Like it didn't matter
sure.
what if I went to a classical concert where they played like some folk song or something. Like I swear, it was like the most German thing ever. Everybody clapping on one, like on 1 and 3. You know, like it was just like the most. Ugh.
For sure.
I get it. It's
I mean, I will say hearing that makes me feel like they probably recorded this with the live audience.
Probably, yeah. That makes sense.
I mean, I will say if they were really particular, and a lot of these like idol bands, whether it's K-pop, J-pop, C-pop, whatever, like a lot of these like idol groups are like really, really particular when it comes to production. I wouldn't be surprised if they like literally like recorded an audience and just pumped that in there like to the click. But in this situation, I'm more inclined to believe they just record it in front of the studio audience. Whether or not it's like in one take and live, who cares? But
well, I think there's actually an interesting clue here on the screen itself. If you look, you can see the backdrop up here. You see that? Can you see where my mouse is?
I mean, yeah. I mean, there is a backdrop. What is that?
Well, that means that it seems like it's actually being done on a stage. But you can see the tape on the floor.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, I think this is recorded at the same studio. Like I do confidently think that is true. It's really just a question of like whether they literally just like panned over and did it in that take or not. But I wouldn't be surprised either way. Like if you were just like, yeah, they 100% did this live and they just did it in one take. Like, yeah, that doesn't surprise me at all.
I mean, whatever post production or not, it's still a great performance. They have
killer.
Good energy. It's fun to watch. I'm enjoying it.
You would know even if it's like, I mean, if they like really like screwed up a note and it was like super sharp or something, you'd hear it. Like it's not like the software is so powerful that like I think that's a meme where you're just like. Oh, it's like the South Park Lord thing, like where it's just like someone could get in and just sound nothing like it, and then like click studio magic, and now they sound brilliant. Like no.
So what's the?
That was funny.
What's the context for? What is this from? Like, what is K-pop Demon Hunters? What is it?
You should watch it. It'll answer all of your questions.
But is it a movie? Is it a TV show?
Yeah, it's a movie. It's a straight to Netflix animated movie. I think I might be wrong here, but I'm pretty sure it was a lot of the same animators from like Into the Spider-Verse and that camp of people. I could be making that up. I think it was. I remember when it came out, it was kind of like. It was kind of out of nowhere. I remember Paige, my wife, had a vocal student who was just like, "Oh, like have you watched K-pop Demon Hunters? It was cool." And then I remember her coming home. She's like, "Hey, I heard about this movie K-pop Demon Hunters," and it was like just on Netflix. It was just a kind of a random. I don't remember it being that hyped up before it came out. It just kind of came out, and we were like, "All right, yeah, let's watch it." And it was just our normal me and Paige eating dinner and kind of watching Netflix movie, half expecting to shut it off halfway through, and then we were both locked in, just like. This is sick because the music is like really, really good. It's essentially a straight to Netflix animated movie musical. That's the best way I could describe it, and it's very, very good. I like it a lot.
I'm intrigued. I mean, I
think you should watch it. Like this song is great. There's some other really cool songs in the movie. Yeah, it's very cool. It's like it's a really cool production. And yeah, like all the songwriting and composition, the voice acting, the animation, it's really solid.
Cool.
What?
Oh. Is it over?
Come on!
Yeah, that was it. Oh, okay. Well, I start. Sorry, guys. I didn't.
Yeah, and you can see even here like how they like they're all in the same place. So they absolutely like recorded this at the spot. And again, I at this point I would be probably more convinced than anything that they just like knocked it out. I think they probably could have done another take if they wanted to. I've had a lot of situations like that where it's like NPR Tiny Desk, and now that is if you want to hear your favorite singer sing without auto-tune or without any sort of pitch correction or like basically any sort of effects on their voice, if they're on NPR Tiny Desk, like that's where you're gonna hear it.
What did you do on Tiny Desk?
What do you mean? Like, what did I perform?
Did you say you were on Tiny Desk at one point?
Yeah, I did a Tiny Desk with an artist. And I was just playing guitar.
Which artist was it? Which artist was it?
Baby Rose is her name.
Oh, it was Baby Rose. Okay.
Yeah. So, I like musical directed and performed that. It was great. Cool people, cool vibe. But the point I was making is that, you do it, and they ask, like, do you want to do another take? Like, do you want to try that and do that again? Even though it's kind of pitched as this like live thing, and it's still, I mean, it's live, right? But even something like that, that's like the whole point is like we just get a snapshot of what you sound like. They'll give you another take if you want it. Like if you, I don't know, you accidentally curse or you sing and you just hated it, or a lot of these things, like even late shows that are like live and they're at night, sometimes these things are filmed like really early in the morning, right? So you get up and you've got to belt and sing this stuff and dance and do all this choreo at like 9 a.m. Or worse, you get there at 8 a.m. and you sit around for 4 hours and you eat donuts and craft stuff, and you wait. If it's like filming, sometimes you have to do like a bunch of takes and they have to get a bunch of different camera angles, and it's a whole thing. God forbid you filming it in like a non-air conditioned space, and it's a lot of the stuff is like, not to be like, oh, it's real hard to be a musician, like, but some of the stuff is a lot harder than it looks in terms of just the physicality of it. It's not like, I think a lot of people think like, you walk out of your trailer and like you walk directly onto the stage and you sing it, and then they put a fur coat on you and you walk back into the trailer. But like sometimes it's rough, it's like a 15-hour day and you're just like not eating and you're sweating and you're moving equipment. It's a whole deal.
I mean, I'm observing their outfits. It cannot be easy or comfortable to sing in any of those outfits.
Sure.
Like, it just can't be, like.
I will say the shoulder pads are righteous, and I'm pretty jealous of those.
You want some shoulder pads? Okay. I've sung on stage in performances and, opera stuff and musical theater productions, that type of thing. And it's what just having to be under those lights, just having to be consistent in a setting to where you've got all the pressure from the performance, along with, like, I mean, y'all can't see this, but I've got these huge lights like bearing down on me when I record these videos right now. And honestly, I do that so that I look, more presentable on camera, but like
gorgeous.
I would probably I'd probably do a better job on like making videos if I didn't have this in my face all the time, because like some of you probably noticed I don't look straight at up here very much. Well, that's because when I look up, I've got these lights in my face, and it's hard to do. So like even just me sitting here in my chair, making a YouTube video, putting this performance or whatever you want to call it. I mean, these types of settings are difficult just in and of themselves. But the thing is, like, I think when you reach the level of like fame and notoriety and you're seeing on stuff like Jimmy Fallon like this, they're obviously comfortable on stage. I was actually talking at my vocal workshop a little while ago today that like after you've done this for a while, I think kind of alluding to what John's saying, the performance itself becomes the easiest part, and everything leading up to it is the stuff that's hardest. So I definitely understand that it's not all just roses and sunshine being a singer,
Sure.
being a musician, being an artist.
mean,
and John's experienced that way more than I have.
I don't think a lot of people realize what rehearsal looks like at this level, because I think some people have been in bands, right, and they've played shows maybe, and so they say like, okay, we're gonna have a rehearsal before the show, or we're gonna have 2 rehearsals before the show, or like if you guys are like a young band, you guys are really working hard, you play 3 or 4 rehearsals for a show, and maybe you get to a professional level where you're playing gigs at bars and stuff, and like you don't even need a rehearsal because you've played all these songs before, you've played Just Friends, Music Soul Child before, like you'll get it, you'll hear it. It's Alicia Keys, you'll hear it, right? Whatever. When you're doing these big tours that are productions, you show up for rehearsal. It's 9 to 5, just like 8-hour shift, any other job. You show up, you get there at 9 a.m. Sometimes you're like first day, you got to get there at 7:30, 8 a.m. to get in there, test. You get your ears, you get everything right. You get the sound check done. You're rehearsing in some sort of big rehearsal space that has Chime. It's basically a stage. You've got mirrors. You see yourself. You're dressed half the time like you're gonna play the show, and you just run this stuff, and you run through every tiny little detail, and you go 9 to 5 every day straight for 2 weeks to a month. I know a lot of these big tours. It's literally a month, and it's every day. It's not like weekends off. It's literally every day, 9 to 5, every single day. And you just get up, you do it, you knock it out. If you're in the band, you're there the whole time. A lot of times the artists aren't doing that much because, I mean, that's just vocal strain. A lot of times it'll be like you'll do a week straight of just the band until the band knows the music inside and out. They could play it upside down underwater. And then the last 2 weeks you have the vocalists come in and sing it, or maybe they come in from like the last 2 hours of rehearsal, whatever. But yeah, they're tight, and they can do this all in one take because they've sung this song with this choreograph or with this choreography like 1,000 times before this performance. Like,
yeah, it looks easy. It made it look easy.
Yeah,
it's really impressive.
They've done it so many times they don't even have to think about it.
Cool. Well, this is probably the longest video about K-pop demon hunters on the entire internet. So, but hopefully you all have gotten a very good dose of what John is all about, and you can all see that he is incredible at this stuff. He's absolutely one of the finest musicians that I know, and he knows this stuff inside and out. So, check out his content. He's on a lot of different socials. He's not just on YouTube. He's growing on YouTube, but he's on, like, I think you're on Instagram and TikTok too, right?
Yeah, I don't do enough of the social media stuff. That's something I plan to do this year, is to get a little more into it. I tend to be a little bit more behind the scenes, but it's 2026. It's time to get out there. So
yeah, and I'll put some of his material that he's worked on in the description and the comments, so you guys can check out some more of what he's done. Like and subscribe this video. Like and subscribe John as well. Because we're trying to grow him, and as you all can see, he has tons of knowledge and an invaluable amount of information that he can present to the internet. You guys that are really into the deep dives on things, I think you are going to really appreciate what he has to offer too. So, what else have you got to say before we end things? Any other things you want to point? Any oversight or any like general conclusion about this or anything?
Not too much. I mean, it depends. Like, there's a lot to get from this performance, whether you're like looking into the production side of stuff or into the singing side of stuff, or if you just like it. I mean, it's good. It sounds great. There's a lot of cool stuff going on. I mean, I think this is, like, to me, this is a very quintessential recorded pop performance. So that it's all like totally normal stuff for me. I don't think there's anything crazy going on here, other than they sound great. Great song, great production. They did a really good job. And yeah, any like further questions, it just depends on what you want to know. But
cool.
Yeah, it was fun. I enjoyed doing it with you.
Yeah, well, thanks for coming along, John, and hopefully maybe I'll go and watch this myself and see what it's all about, because I've heard a lot about it.
Yeah, check it out.
My first exposure to it, so I'll
and then if you guys have any specific questions, I'll try to answer anything in the comments that
Yeah, drop it in the comments, and John will be watching
production stuff. Yeah, like, as I'm sure this stuff is like super normal for me, but I know that a lot of this stuff is interesting, and there's a lot of weird stigmas about a lot of this stuff, and so I'm down to try and demystify any of those things to the best of my ability.
Yeah, and John is in my Discord server as well, and he does give lessons. He gives production lessons, he gives composition lessons, he gives guitar lessons. He teaches all this stuff along with actually doing it. He teaches too. So if this is the kind of thing that you want to learn more about, like, hit him up. He can definitely get you going. So
yeah, absolutely.
Thanks again, everybody. Yeah, thanks for being here, John. Thank you all for watching, and I will see you all again on the next video. Bye.